Hello?
Whoa. Hello?
Nice.
Then you should be able to hear me. The stream is showing. Yeah, the stream is showing Discord as well, by the way. It's not showing your waiting screen.
I know.
Alright. You know, I finished watching that video, and there was no part where I felt especially glazed. So I think you're baiting me to get me to watch the whole video.
I was waiting for you to say that.
You absolute bastard.
We'll explain to everybody the context.
Yeah, no, I was watching the most recent Mythinder video, his interview of the guy, what's his name? That you interviewed with. What was his name? Surely you
My
haven't
brain's not working.
Oh no.
Yep. So.
Yeah, yeah. No, I watched that interview and I thought he glazed Messi, and I DM'd about him about it, and he said that he glazed me later on in the video. So I sat there patiently until the very end, and there was no play for England glazing. I thought you'd be like, this play guy. You said when you talk about chivalry, I thought you'd gonna be like, this play guy. He shows so much chivalry. No, no.
Do you?
I do. I'm a chivalrous person. Yeah. I always try to help out new players regardless of faction, and I don't even try and cross recruit them afterwards. That's my most chivalrous act, honestly.
Can people see me on cam on stream?
Let me check. Yeah, they see you.
All right, you're gonna have to read the comments again.
So it's a bit really bad right now. There's a lot of gambling.
There's a lot of gamping.
Gambling.
Nice. That's not good. That's not ethical.
Mm-hmm. Almost a year already. Yeah, it's just Roblox talking about the explosions in crack on April 14th, 2024.
That was a long time ago. Ryder and I went into Karak and launched a nuke, but that was a lot longer. That was a lot longer ago than 2024. That was like 2019 or early. I'm gonna get sunburned out here.
Yeah, why is it so sunny over there? It's still kind of cloudy over here. It's okay.
300 days sunshine a year here.
Damn. That's too much.
Yeah,
well,
like
now obviously it's straight up night time.
Have the leaves budded in England yet? I'm sure they have.
Yeah, they're getting there. My hay fever's also acting up, which is great. I love it. Honestly, I think I was made to just like suffer because I have hay fever and I'm really sensitive to colds. So in the winter, to like getting colds, like I'll start sneezing really easily. It's just, yeah, I'm pretty much coughing and sneezing full year round. America is better, bro. Bobby's calling America better. I just saw that Trump did a cheeky, what was it, 150% tariff on China?
Go to 200.
Oh my god.
Make it 1,000.
But it's surely this will not harm like any relations or like you know cause zero inflation whatsoever.
Right. Well, I know he took back a lot of the other ones, and then he like doubled down on the Chinese one. That's what I think happened.
Well, we'll see how it affects the economy. You know,
Stock
you
market
need
rebound.
relations when you have nukes. So somebody in the chat. Yes.
Yeah, the Euros are really mad.
Myth, do we tax the English and Byzantines or do we not? Asked a Teuton, J. Luke Jalusi. Do you feel like the English and the Byzantines deserve to not be taxed, Myth?
No comment.
Fair enough. Yep. It's a player-led game, guys. You can do whatever you want.
If we actually had like trade mechanics between factions, there might be tariffs. That'd be funny.
That'd be cool. Guys, we're taxing Abbasids 1,000% for the entire existence of the game. Because cringe.
You're like the
Because,
Abbasid. You're the Abbasid leader.
yeah, no, I'm joking. The only faction that I actually think is cringe is
Zangus.
no, there's like everybody loves it. You can't say that about the Zengans, dude. They're
I
like the
did.
actual. Nobody
I did.
hates Zengans. I think it's Teutons because they took Zengid cause, and that's not cool.
Literally like the most popular faction in the game.
Yeah, like everyone hates them. I know. It's like the entire game could almost be like for a very long time. It was factions that liked Teutons and factions that didn't like Teutons, and that was the separation of how wars would happen. um,
I had to put on some sunscreen.
but like mostly the reason I don't like them is like I when I was in their faction, it was good. I had fun. I liked the people there. But then like we had to fight 5 world wars and have like really terrible servers, and it's just like it's not worth it. I'd rather have SBA not exist and not have 5 world wars. You know,
Yeah. But the world wars make activity, man.
that is true. But like every single time, like it's like a 50% chance that like something goes horrendously wrong for one of the sides in an RB because like all of their fighters are not able to get in the server or there's like a black screen
Yeah.
issue, but yeah, there's always something. And if you get like if you get a mod that's on it at the time, then it's fine. If not, though, that side just has like a tough one.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah.
What do you make of those donation tiers that we went through last stream extensively for over an hour?
Well, I'm personally gonna do the Man at Arms one. I think it's good. I think some of the weapons are a bit. I mean, I'm not sure how much grind it would be to get like a iron weapon in the new game. But some of the weapon tiers seem a bit silly. to include like an arsenical bronze weapon. It's like, I swear you literally start with that.
Yeah, that's kind of fair. Fair.
Yeah.
I don't know. Pretty tired today. Got some work
Oh
done.
mate.
We're trying to do the stretch
Yeah.
goals right now so that everybody can see what we're planning per goal. Like we put them out in the past, but it wasn't official. Just like the tiers, you have to like do some reiteration on it. It's a lot of
Yeah.
work to like prepare all that stuff. Like all the tiers and the website stuff. It just takes a lot of iteration and time.
Hmm. I mean, it's gonna be tough. What's the main focus right now, apart from that, in the
Well,
development?
marketing, we're trying to get as many people on that donor list as possible so we can see what our initial stretch goal is going to be so we can
Yeah.
guarantee to hit it on the Kickstarter.
Hmm.
Development wise, we're working on as much, like everything we're developing is to market, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we need everything to show off on the Kickstarter. So like we're working on as much exciting stuff as we can, but we're not working
Yeah.
on like gigantic systems that won't be ready to show anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's gotta be like visuals, like visual stuff. That makes
Well,
sense.
like combat, the favor tree. There's some big things.
Hmm.
It's just not like diplomacy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, like you've already got a bunch of systems that you already know work. It's
Yeah.
like eventually trying to experiment a bit more would be cool. Because like, I there's been times where I'm like, oh yeah, we could do this, and you're like, this would be a great idea, but we're not going to do that in the Roblox game. We're going to do that much later in the future, maybe, if we're lucky.
Right. I hope this sunscreen works. I feel like my face is getting melted off right now, but
Okay, getting cooked. Just slowly turning redder and redder.
dude, I hate sitting at my computer when I don't feel well. Just like just my mind melting out of my ears when I'm tired.
Mm. Yeah, no, if you're not feeling well, it's a go to bed angle, usually. I'm just like it's time to sleep.
Sunshine helps though, man. It makes you feel better.
Yeah, but you get to like a certain point of sick where you're just tired,
Yeah, yeah.
and then the sun will feel bad on you.
Yeah. What are the comments saying?
Um, so I think it's TS Infinity.
Yes.
Yeah, he's won 100K gambling. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, good stuff.
Roblox doesn't join the call. He's a coward.
Mm. He's scared of the 12 people. There's been a jump. Oh my.
A jump of what?
A jump of 3 people joining the stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People like
I
when I'm
mean,
outside. It's more
it
engaging.
makes them
Probably because
feel like they
it's probably because I'm not distracted by Elden Ring, so I'm actually talking. So
that
it's
would be it.
acting.
Hmm. I joined but no a kid. Right. Adverting, I wouldn't say you're a screaming kid. You know.
uh,
Um,
so is Lionhearts going to explode? That's the question that you asked.
oh yeah. I think it will.
I'm really excited by we're getting like today, somebody joined the server. Oh, I forgot to put this link in the new server. I don't shout it because I'm trying not to ping the new server too much so it doesn't get muted. Which is kind of funny. But
Probably already has.
yeah, no,
Just,
I only ping it like 2-3 times a week. So
well, the main issue is that the Garrison tracker pings you about like 4 times in a day. So
yeah, about the
yeah.
register.
Oh, that. Oh yeah, no, you're not spamming that too bad. You're fine on that.
Yeah, but the new server, somebody joined there and they're like, "Oh yeah, we have like a community of like 150 Templar gamers." Like, it's funny because like just one of those people with that network can make a huge difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's like so with these wars and how active like the game is right now. There are a lot of people that will like complain and be like, "Oh, the game's dead. I wish they made it free." And then we have a war, and factions can't get their people into it because there's over 120 people trying to get in, and the game's barely handling it as is on the shitty Roblox servers. It's like, I
Right.
mean, part of me is a bit worried, but like it's also kind of really cool. And there's an aspect of if we as like maybe there will be like maybe there should be more limitations on like diplomacy and like getting all of the different factions into one place doing one big war. Maybe there should be more limits on that, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a little. I don't know. Like, I kind of hope the game will be very fun without wars because wars are going to be so consequential that it's obviously going to be very exciting, but I'd
Yeah,
like the other stuff around it to be very fun.
I mean there is like factions are getting pretty good at like be like, having players like do stuff even in peacetime, like running events and all that kind of stuff. It's just that the reason you're running those events is kind of to lead up to war usually.
Right.
Like for me, I'm like always running around with my Latakians in Antioch, showing them different ways to defend like their base and all that kind of stuff. And it's like you're building up to something. And then if you just don't ever have that war, then people never get to use what they've learned. So it feels like both are important. The stuff you do in peacetime and the stuff you do in wars.
Right.
But you said like a lot of resources would be used if you went to war.
Yeah, that's the
And then
balance. Is I don't like cooldowns. I think they're bad mechanic, like game design wise. I think it's just like if you're too lazy to balance the game or develop stuff, then you add cooldowns.
Mhm.
But sometimes it's unavoidable. But most of the time, there should be a cost and effect for doing something, a cause and effect, or a drawback and a boon. Like going to
Yeah,
war, okay, well, the drawback now is that you lose, and the benefit now is that you win. But that's pretty simplistic. The drawbacks
yeah,
of like attacking a garrison are very few, right?
yeah.
Like almost none, except for losing lives. But if
Hmm.
you have to actually logistically plan a battle, collect all the resources, you know, then and like with
Yeah,
the siege equipment, to just take a single duchy, it's going to be a lot slower paced,
mm,
which means like a faction's not going to just lose their capital in a day,
yeah.
which I think is a good thing.
Mm. I've played I've played some games where they have it's not the exact thing you're describing, but in a way it's somewhat similar.
Yeah.
There's this game called the Land of the Rising Sun. Some people absolutely hate it. Um,
Yeah, it's on
I think
Roblox,
it's an
right?
okay game. Yeah, it's on Roblox as well. It's like a Japan sort of game. It's like similar to this, where you have different factions and like nations, basically. Or in that game, it would be clans because it's Japan, and they're fighting for territory in Japan.
Right.
However, the way that the system of gear works, it's you gain gear from farming NPCs, and you're trying to like find that good gear so you can go into battles and actually use good stuff. But if you die like in a battle, you just drop everything. So it's like you genuinely
Oh,
have to.
it's like Infernum everywhere.
Yeah, it's Infernum everywhere if you're actually going to like a proper battle. Yeah. Um,
Wow.
so it's like really consequential. Like you go into a battle with your best kits, and you're just like, I can't die. Like it's not
Right.
happening. I would rather leave and never come back. Yeah, Luke Masters saying, "Oh no, that one." Yeah, no, it's literally people will just sit and camp in trees with guns because they're like, I'd rather play like this than have to regrind for all of my gear back. and, um,
I feel like that's almost
yeah, it's
that's
it's it was like it's fun if you're willing to go through the grind, and if you're really a devoted player on it, you feel um, what VC are we in? We're in a private one. It feels
does
like
it appear or does the enemy loot you?
the enemy loots you.
Uh,
And it feels really good to win, but losing feels really bad. And then you have to go and regrind your stuff. For a lot of the guys that I was playing with, they didn't like that. Me personally, I'm a hardcore gamer. I didn't care. I just went back and killed NPCs for about another hour. Um, but you know, I can see the benefits of it being inconsequential for more casual players, and the benefits of you requiring to grind for more like hardcore players and it being more rewarding for them. I think
I
that having a right balance of that is
the
good.
game. That game's always recommended under Lionhearts, but I've never played it extensively. I know it's pretty similar to
It's
Lionhearts in some
yeah,
ways.
and it's got a system similar to what you're describing with the new one, where land is like really exclusive. Like just getting like a plot. It's the way it works is you would there's like in each region different sort of estates or like plots of land, and if you manage to conquer one, and that this would take weeks to do, like because it works on a percentage based thing where you're slowly conquering over days of like winning RBs. um, you would get a huge valley basically to your faction, and that valley is like the equivalent of owning a base, except you can build buildings and like build farms um,
Advanced.
to help. Yeah, it's a pretty advanced system, and these farms you'd have villagers as well, and that you're upkeeping with food from the from the farms as well. So it's this whole system where you can get a bunch of resources from owning land, um, but like you have to defend it, and it's really exclusive because it would only be like in a certain region. There'd only be about 8 of them or 5 of them. So really,
Right.
there's only like 40 valleys in the game, allowing for to get a valley, you're going to have to be in the top 40 groups of people.
I think those games like they can only grow to be so big. Like
Yeah,
play Lionheart's an example, especially on Roblox, but there needs to be individual progression outside of battles, or else people just like there's no other reason to play if there's not a battle, you know?
Mm.
except prepping for a battle, and like that's not that fun.
Yeah. No, ZXCX. I'm talking about Land of the Rising Sun. So as a comment. But yeah, I feel like and the good thing about TTC is once you get the grind done, you can just sort of chill and have fun for the rest of the time. That's one of the good things about TTC at the minute. I haven't felt pressured to go mining for a long ass time. But obviously, like with the new system of wars being more consequential, I'd have to put in a bit more work, which, you know, sometimes I have motivation and sometimes I don't.
Or use your shadow to do it.
Yeah, true. But the problem is that even them, there are guys that are willing to put in the work, and there are guys that aren't.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. I know the Templars have a very good way of getting their LRs to do the work for them, so they'll be happy.
Oh, what
We'll
method do they
see.
use? That's so interesting. What do they do?
They have a rank system entirely based around you giving your HR's resources. Yeah, so it's slavery
Oh, I
basically
see.
is what
Oh, that's
Zaki said.
oh, so interesting.
Yeah, and that I think that that does very bad things to a faction over time.
True.
Uh, because like once you have your leaders becoming people who are just really good at grinding materials, but they aren't like good at getting. You realistically you want the leaders to be the people who make the systems that have the LRs,
Right.
grind. But once your leaders are just the people who can mine for a long time, not long enough that they keep climbing the ranks. It's bad. They're not
Right.
going to be good leaders.
Right.
But that's just my opinion.
That makes sense actually, because if they all have the good pickaxes and stuff, then you're not being super efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think for Reforged on Steam, the difference is people like you're not going to really expect everybody to be mining. Jobs are a little more specialized, so in some sense, we just designed this part, like fleshed it all out.
Yeah.
Uh,
Nice.
there's 3 types of like the trade being in trades. You could be an
Yeah.
extractor, which is the lowest skill, a refiner, which is mid skill, or a crafter, which is high skill.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like how it is now, except there's not a ton of refinement. I guess you would say smelting is the refinement. So,
Yeah.
everybody can go out and do basic extraction if they spec into that, but only like the best trade people in the game can craft like some of the more exclusive crafting things. And you actually don't need as many of those, so you don't need everybody to be able to craft them, if that makes sense. It's more about specializing than being a generalist, which kind of naturally happened in Crusade, but it'll be more specifically outlined, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So for a kingdom, like the incentive system's totally different, because in Lionhearts, you mine to get a new weapon. In Lionheart's Crusade, in Lionhearts on Steam, you mine and do stuff to get favor. That's how you rank up. That's how you ascend up. And there's no levels, like there's no experience. So leveling up is the goal. So there's not like 2 or 3 different competing objectives. It's like when you play, okay, is the goal to get experience? Is it to get a new weapon? Or is it to rank up in my faction and participate in my faction? Those are like competing interests in Crusade. Whereas in Reforged, they're all rolled into one.
So there's no experience. So there's no there's no weapon levels and all that kind of stuff.
Your level is your rank. It's your favorite
Ah,
gear.
interesting.
Yeah,
And then
because if
does
you think about it, in like, if you're a lord, like in Crusade, the ranks don't mean anything really, except for decision making and uniforms. But most people don't care about being a high rank. That's why there's so much faction hopping, because you can just be a low rank. We implemented a couple things like wages being per rank to try to fix that, but the game really needed to be redone from the ground up so that everything is about the ranks. It's all about which rank you are, how fast you can rank up, because
So, for example, if you were to like be a higher rank, would that mean you have access to better weaponry, or do you just get
yes,
access to all weaponry immediately?
what in medieval society, who would have a better sword, a lord or a page?
A lord.
Right.
Oh, fair enough.
Now, once you get
But that,
knight, not everybody's gonna be able to be a lord. Once you get knight, that's like late game basically. You could I'm probably gonna make it so you can have whatever weapon at night,
mm,
but becoming a knight means you can't become a priest and you can't become a merchant. That's where you have to
so
specialize.
I see.
So if you look at the
I see.
favor tree on the Kickstarter or on the
Hmm.
website, you'll see these little lock icons below merchant, knight, and priest. So up until that point, you can have everything below that at the same time. You could be a monk and
Okay.
a man at arms, and you could be a tradesman all at the same
Mm,
time. Once you choose priest, you can only progress further up that tier.
I see.
So you can't be an archbishop and a duke, right? There's
Mm,
only one late game path you can choose.
yeah,
But each late game path is limited supply. So you might be able to become a lord. This is still up in the air. You might be able to become a lord, but actually owning a lordship, like owning land, is limited. You might be able to become a priest, but being the priest of a church, there's only so many churches.
yeah,
There's only so many
yeah,
guild houses to become a merchant,
yeah.
right? So actually, I think I misspoke. I'm sorry. It's knight. Yeah, it's knight, merchant. Yeah, no, I was right.
Yeah. I trust you're right about your in game. I, I'd hope so.
Try you trust me about my own game, you said?
Yeah, I'd hope I can trust you about your own game.
Me too. What are the comments saying? I hope there's at least a couple.
But, oh yeah, let me have a look now. There are more. Could you devolve and go back a stage? I think he's so you could go a different tree. Yeah, no, Zaki was just asking you about
He could
like
personally
how
wall.
the
That's funny.
trees work. But
Yeah,
yeah,
so if you spec into knight, you could abandon that spec, but you'd abandon all the skills and the favor. So you'd
mm,
go back to below knight, if that makes sense.
it makes sense. So knight is like your combatant type character, and also like ruler type character, and then your priests
So knight
are
is basically there's three classes basically. You could be a military class, a trade class, or a religion class in late game.
yeah. Hmm.
Everybody can have a little bit of all of it. You just can't spec late game. So a knight is always going to have like better weapons and more skills, like combat skills, than a priest could because
Yeah.
he couldn't into that, right?
Hmm.
A priest is going to have access to different prayers and stuff to AoE heal. He's going to be able to do different features like writing and reading late game that are going to be
Yeah.
important for like declarations and stuff. And a tradesman's going to be able to.
I love the idea that you just make it so that nobody is allowed to read and write if they aren't a priest. That's just
Well,
like,
but that's actually how it was because people were illiterate.
Yeah.
But like the religious people were the educated ones in society because you
Yeah.
went to church to learn. Like there was no difference in education between like maybe if you were really rich, you could move to like Paris and go to a university, but it was usually
Yeah.
also religiously affiliated, as far as I know.
Yeah. No,
And
you'd have.
also,
You'd,
most of the writing was in Latin. So even if you learned
yeah.
to read French, you didn't know Latin. So it'd just be
Yeah.
gibberish. It wasn't until the Gutenberg press, um, and they started printing Bibles in mass that like laymen could even read it at all. So it makes sense historically, but also as a feature, it's kind of nice. Um, so if you like pick up a
That,
note
that
and you
makes
don't
sense. Yeah.
read it in the religious tree, which is below priest, by the way, then it just looks like gibberish. It just looks like scribbles. And then if you learn reading, you can actually read notes.
That's cool.
I think that's kind of funny. Um, and then trade, right? Like you could become a tradesman and you could craft like very basic things, but you could
Mm,
never sell things on the market unless you become a merchant. And you wouldn't be able to like
I
make a
see.
sword unless you become a bladesmith. And you need to be above merchant to be a bladesmith.
I see.
So if everybody goes into military to be the best fighters, they're not going to have any weapons made, and they're not going to have any
Yeah.
bad from the priests. So it's a balance.
Yeah.
80% of people are going to want to spec in the military, maybe
Yeah.
70, which is fine. Like it could
Honestly,
still.
I think that's a good. I think that actually works because I feel like there'll be more. It'll be more limited on how many churches and trade areas that you can have compared to like how many lordships and sort of military organization roles you could give to people. There's probably
Yeah,
going to be more of those.
yeah. What are the comments saying? Anything else?
Um, will there be infernum zones or somewhere stealing materials in Reforged? And of course, Luke Masters asking that. This man.
Um, yeah, we'll think about it, but I don't have any plans on that right now because it's the game's really not that much about looting. Kind of is. But the game's a lot more collectivized than Crusade. Like everything's about your faction, really. So you loot other faction stockpiles. You'll loot players when they die in PvP. They'll drop a little bit of stuff. But Infernum zones, the way that they're in Crusade right now, doesn't really make sense in Reforged. Maybe there'll be like crossroads in open world where like you try to fight in this area, like it's like a permadeath zone or a full loot drop zone. But again, I don't want to distract from the core of the game. And I don't actually think that like has to do with the game. That was kind of a mechanic we added to get excitement, but
Yeah,
we tried to add a lot of things to Crusade that didn't really make sense because they didn't really have to do with a faction game. And that's because we didn't know we were trying to like we were trying to fix the game um
yeah,
instead of just making the game that existed better with the faction stuff, if that makes sense. So let's add
yeah,
matchmaking, let's add clans, let's add infernum zones. And the truth is like they might have been fun and they might have been used, but the game was supposed to be about factions. And so we don't have
yeah,
matchmaking and for Reforged, we have skirmishes. And a
mm,
skirmish is basically matchmaking, but it's for your faction. And it's in the
yeah.
open world, kind of like a Helldivers match.
I've always
Where
wondered why that hasn't been a thing because, like, in a lot of games, they try to have things like in team-based, faction-based games, they always have a thing where you could take your whole team and go and fight another team of
yeah,
made and like of pre-made teams, and you just go and have a big scrap, and then it might like even show like a leaderboard of who beat who, or like
that's because
there's like
we were
a
trying
lot.
to make we were people in the studio wanted to make a traditional MMO, and I wanted to make a faction game that had MMO it was MMO by definition, and
Yeah.
we just got split in two ways, and so I should have been harder and just been less. I'm not people don't think I'm compromising, but I was too compromising to say, yeah, we could do this, this, and that, and that, and that, and that. Let's do everything. They're like,
You
no,
can't,
do like a couple things very well, and
you
then you
can't
can
see the chat,
slowly add.
guys. I'll question in a sec. Sorry, continue.
No, I please say what you're gonna say.
Oh, there's a question in the chat, and they were like worried that their question won't get answered. But guys, after he's done speaking, I'll tell the question.
Oh, go. I'm ready.
Okay. Hey, I have a question about the rewards in the Kickstarter. I see you get renown in gold, and also things like weapons to redeem at blacksmith/armory. Is that considered pay to win by getting a leg up on your opponents?
Where's the question from?
The cat died.
Oh, great. Yeah, no, he just joined the server. Welcome. Well, I think in a sense, it's considered pay to win by one definition because you do get an advantage over other players, but it's not pay to win because you don't win. The game's about faction progression, and getting gold might allow you to buy a sword, and it might be able to use that sword, but it's only going to get you so far within faction progression. Now,
Yeah.
in a way, I don't want to cop out, but at the same time, the way that we do gold in the game, no one's really complained about it being pay to win in Crusade for years, because essentially you can still earn gold without paying for it. With regards to it, just minted when you pay, so that prevents inflation. In regards to the tiers, I wanted to give back as much value as I could for your purchase. And so if we're selling 100 gold for $1, I want to make sure when you spend $500 on a tier, you get more than your money's back worth in gold, plus all the other tiers, because we want to give you more in value than we're charging. And obviously, it doesn't cost us anything to mint the gold, but it does cost the economy when it's not backed by money. It can inflate the economy and then make the gold worthless. And so, in a way, yes, but at the same time, gold is the core loop of the game. Favor is. I think the more pay to win aspect of it is giving favor, not gold. And that's something we're still considering whether or not we want to do. The reason we're giving favor in the tiers is because if we start the game off and everybody's at 0, the game won't work. You have to have some people in higher positions, and it kind of just makes sense to let the people who actually funded the game and allowed the game to exist, to give them the higher tiers, because without them we wouldn't be able to make the game. So yes, it's pay to win in a sense, but at the same time, if we don't offer enough enticing rewards, we won't get enough donations, and then we can't make a game. In the future, are we going to sell favor for money? No. Are we going to sell gold for money? Yes, because the way that the gold system works, if you look on our website, is you inject gold with USD, and then that gold circulates around the economy through the faction treasuries and other things. So a player who doesn't want to spend USD on it can earn it in weekly wage. And I'm sure Play can attest to the fact that you don't need to spend money in Crusade to earn gold.
In fact, it's like the conversion is so poor that you are better off not.
Yeah.
That's always been something I respect about the game, is that to make any meaningful progress through like spending real life money, you'd have to spend like 200 quid, like a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, it's not like spend $5 and then you're like the king.
Yeah, I'm gonna get VIP Game Pass and have 2x XP for the rest of the game. No, you'd have to. I mean, it's like the options there, but you have to be rich and really want it.
Right.
Like they get like a whipped weapon.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that making money is so much easier than people think. Like England's wages is 4K right now. I saw on their
Rank.
faction 4K gold for like MRs.
Oh, holy
Yeah,
snipe! That's crazy.
absolutely. It's so high that it's literally half of an. That's half
I
an Ilmenite.
I bet a lot of people are joining England to get those wages.
Oh no, no. People have loyalty to more than just money, and also the people who are worth like money know they're worth money, and they'll ask for like a solid 100K. Like I know there's people joining HRE right now that are getting cast Damascus ingots. Well, it's Pratt. Pratt's getting cast Damascus ingots
See,
for joining.
that's kind of shit I want to stop too, because if you do that, you have to give up all your tiers in Reforged. So you could, but it's probably not.
Yeah,
You know,
the amount that
people are
he's the
there's
amount
going to be more incentives to be loyal. Surely there's some follow-up questions though. Anything else on that last one?
is the cat died has also said, is the favor and gold persistent through wipes and phases of the development of the game? Like, does it reset after alpha, beta, early access, and full release?
No.
So
No.
it will reset or it won't reset?
I wouldn't offer a reward on the tier that gets reset. No.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No.
No reset, guys. And then when will the Kickstarter start? Asks Watermelons.
It's a few weeks away, at least. But we're gonna keep ramping up. I think you guys have seen how much marketing we've been doing, and it's been successful. And we're almost done with our cinematic. So the cinematic's gonna come first because that's gonna be the thing that promotes the game the most. And then once the cinematic's out, we're gonna get as many followers on the Kickstarter as possible. Everywhere we can. And we're gonna release the Kickstarter when we feel like it's ready. We have a plan. We have a date in mind. I'm not going to share it though because it could change.
All right.
Yeah,
Next week, guys. Next week.
next week.
Tomorrow?
Any other
Right
questions?
now. Wasn't when I was looking. No, no more questions. No, now you have to deal with my question. I'm okay. I was gonna say something really silly, but um, what are sieges gonna look like? Are we getting anything new to sieges, or is it gonna be a
I
similar
made a
sort of vibe?
I made a video on this channel. Click on my name, scroll down to Lionhearts development updates, and click on the video that says Conquest. It's red,
All
and
right.
it goes over exactly how sieges are going to work
Oh,
and
all right.
everything you know about that.
I shall read up on that for when I need to command one of those sieges.
Conversely, you could go to our website, playlionhearts.com. Go to Holy Land. Under Holy Land, there's something called Conquest, Battles and Conquest. Click on that. That whole page is about battles.
Then another question from the cat died. So to clarify, the favor and gold will only be good in alpha, not beta, and not before release of the game. He thinks that it's going to get reset. It's not going to get
Oh,
reset.
not get reset. The favor and
It
gold is
will,
staying.
yeah, it will stay throughout all the
Spend it.
stages of development.
If you spend it, it's gone. Their currency. spend the favor on a tier, then you're in that tier, and the favor's gone, but the tier doesn't reset. And so if you spend the favor to become a knight, then you're a knight. If you spend the gold on a big piece of land or whatever, fancy sword, the gold's in the economy now. Somebody else got it. It's not getting reset. No.
Dude, I can't wait to rent out like all of Jerusalem. I'm gonna make so much money. Oh my god.
I feel about 20 times better than I did a half hour ago out here in the sun,
Nice.
bacon,
Nice. Yeah.
sunset coming down.
Oh yeah. Incentive for loyalty is really nice, not gonna lie. The watermelons.
What?
Yeah. I mean watermelon, the thing is with me, if I did, is that my loyalty sits with people like that I know personally. So like obviously I feel like loyalty incentives are good in general because but I feel like there should be less like getting punished for maybe following people more than you follow factions. And more just like rewards for
No,
sticking
it's
with a
not.
faction.
So people will follow people, but that's going to be in the form of retinues. So
Oh
you,
yeah,
when Dylan gets his custom Pendragon sigil,
yeah.
starts his retinue, the Pendragon, whatever you
The
call it,
goobers.
the Pendragon wankers. That's like a slur in England, but like here it doesn't mean anything. You can just say it.
No, it's not a slur in England. It's the same as in America. Yeah.
So sun's going down behind a tree. If you're following Dylan's retinue, let's just say the retinue is in French territory. Dylan swears allegiance to the French monarch, right? Has a lordship in the French territory. Then the lordship gets taken over by England. The English conqueror might say, hey, Dylan, I'll let you keep your land, but you have to swear fealty to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so now Dylan and his whole retinue, including you, are not French anymore. You guys are English.
Oh,
And
cool.
that
That's
makes
good.
wars less consequential. So
Yeah.
your loyalty to your retinue is going to be more important than your loyalty to your faction a lot of times. Because
Great.
feudalism is tied to the land, right?
That
About the
suits us
land.
just fine. That is going to be great. Watermelons has a question. I feel like if things don't reset, won't alpha/beta players have a massive advantage since they can
Yes.
buy out all of the land? Yeah.
Yes, they will have an advantage, and you should become an alpha or beta player so you get in on it early. As far as there not being any land available, that's not true. The land that's available in alpha and beta will be taken up by those players, but each time we open the game up to another level, we'll add more land. So it'll be like the Wild West.
New
When
frontier.
the whole game opens, there'll probably be twice as much land as there was in the beta, and it's all going to be vacant.
And I will buy out all of it again. Immediately good.
You're not able to buy land like that because you have to get permission from the king. It's his land.
Oh yeah.
Or the duke. So
I'll
you
go.
have a bunch
I'll
of
go
money.
conquer him before he has time to get recruits.
We'll take that all into account.
Yeah.
Good questions though. It's good to consider all this stuff.
Yeah. projected release time, guys. It's all in the air, man. They have it'll you'll see. They're asking what's the projected release time for Reforge.
Dude, depends how much money we raise. You still there? Okay, I thought I hung
Yeah.
up. It depends how much money we raise. It depends on because how much money raised depends on how many developers we can hire and how much we're going to put into the game. It depends on which phase you're talking about. Alpha, beta, full release. It's a big game, so it's not going to be done tomorrow. But I don't do deadlines because they're impossible to predict, and it always takes longer and costs more than you think. That's just a reality of the industry. And so if I sat here and told you it was going to be done in 12 months or 18 months, I'd be lying because I don't know that. And you can't predict development because it's too advanced and complicated. And estimating development is impossible. You can
Yeah.
you can estimate it, but you're never going to be right. Now I can tell you from
No.
experience, it's going to take a while, and I'm just going to be honest with people about that because I don't want to lie and say it's going to be done really soon to keep you guys excited if it's not. This is this is more of a long-term project. Now the nice thing is we have all these plans done and we've done it before, and so we'll do it. We'll take as long as we need to get it done. We're committed to it. We're not going to abandon it. And I don't think it's going to take 10 years. But I'd like to be working on it in 10 years, just on more stuff to the base game, if that makes sense.
I can't believe we're going to get Lionhearts 2 before GTA 6. No way.
I don't like GTA.
What?
That's my hot take.
What? No, you can't.
Like, it's fun. It's fun, but I think it's immoral.
Yeah, I think a lot of things is immoral. It doesn't mean anything. It's not real.
There we disagree. Next question.
There is no next question. Your next question is is morals. We're going to speak about morals now.
Oh, you want to have a debate about moral relativism?
Well, I think when it's in a video game, it doesn't matter anymore.
I think your actions in a video game reflect your character more than people give it credit for. It doesn't mean that you're actually, if you murder somebody in a game, it doesn't mean you're murdering somebody. But if you're being mean and you're abusing innocent NPCs, right?
NPCs, bro.
But that's like, I mean, it's just like let's say you bought a robot, right?
Yeah.
It's not human, so it's not like its value is humanistic, and it's not an animal, so it's not like it even has the rights an animal should have. But if you were to just you were to abuse the robot because it's fun, I think that you're an abusive person. And that you're more likely to abuse people than an average person because you like to abuse things. And so with a game, if you use a game as an outlet to express anger and hatred, it's because that anger and hatred's already in your heart. And that's not good.
That's true. That is
just
true
like
that like if you
there are people who are really nice and generous and they fight and they say GG at the end of the fight and they go home and that's it. And then there's people who cry and whine and are Machiavellian and mean spirited and but I don't
I
think
would
there's
say
many
that
people.
there's nothing wrong with being Machiavellian. I think that it's a completely fine thing.
The Prince was written as a satire.
I don't believe you.
Not a lot of people know that. Yeah, he didn't even believe what he was writing.
I think it's like kind of over exaggerated for the time period.
Kind of.
I don't think shit was that bad, but I think you could find a lot of medias where that kind of a thought process could be valuable.
Let me explain it this way. If you have a boss at work that's an asshole, it doesn't treat you right, you'll go work for somebody else. You don't want to deal with them. It doesn't actually pay it doesn't pay off to be abusive. Like you can't actually get away with it that long because people will get fed up with you. So
Oh, trust me,
people,
I know.
it's like a cynical point of view that, gaining power is just about exploitation, but gaining power is actually about cooperation more than anything.
Well, the idea
People who are
of the
willing
prince is that
to say what? Go ahead.
the idea of the prince is that you're kind of like trying to be the right level. It's not like you have to be cruel at all. In a lot of cases, you could just be a normal dude and live your life. But there are cases where, like, sometimes to get ahead in a darker society, you might have to do hard, like make tougher choices and do like worse things. And
The core question in The Prince is it better to be feared or loved? And he says
mm,
feared because people who are just loved can still be betrayed. Now, the real answer is both. If you're a leader that's not respected and in a
yeah,
in a fearful way, people will take advantage of you and they won't take you seriously. But the best leaders ever were feared and loved. It was both, and they were respected. And so when like it's a good example. So Game of Thrones is a society where people only win by being exploitative, and honorable and good people get killed, and there's no
yeah.
advantage to it. The Lord of the
Well,
Rings, the most virtuous people and the most noble and pure are the ones that do the most and the ones that people follow. So
yeah,
Aragorn doesn't become king by being exploitative. It is his birthright, but he claims the throne back by being courageous and honorable and brave.
yeah.
And it's a difference in worldviews. Of course, there have been exploitative dictators in society, but
It's not a different in worldviews, though, is it?
but it's
It's a difference in human nature.
if you look at
The
how
guys that
those people end up, this thing finally shut off. I can stop screaming. If you look at how those people ended up, they all met like terrible ends typically. So
yeah,
it's not a good strategy long term. It sometimes can work short term, but I learned this leading my faction on Roblox for 15 years or 10 years ACA because
yeah,
I was very heavy-handed at times and I got betrayed a
mm,
lot because I ruled with the iron fist, and
yeah,
eventually I became more generous. I was always very trusting, so I got betrayed a lot because I was very trusting. But I learned to be generous and still firm. And so you don't want to
mm,
be a pushover, but being cruel and Machiavellian and just like I was there were times when I did things that were definitely wrong, or like I'd like do things behind the scenes or try to like take over a group or like, spy and do all those things. But I think those things always ended up making my position worse. They never worked out for me.
mm,
Whereas when I was um just let like, don't worry about the competition. It doesn't matter. Just focus on yourself. What can you do? What they're doing is fine. In fact, there's no such thing as competition. It's all just help. If somebody made a game tomorrow that was almost identical to Lionhearts, I'd say great, because that shows that there's an audience for it and that it's going to bring even more people to the genre. Now my game's going to be even bigger. It's a mindset difference. I used to spend so much time obsessing over um, things you couldn't control, like a rival assassins group starting up and stealing our members, which
yeah.
happened. And I spent like 3 years brooding over it, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Like I should have just been happy. I should have tried to help them, even though they were being so parasitical and having all these issues. So
Mm.
thinking about competition is like a really negative and bad way to live because it's
I
so
suppose I
it's
know what
so
you mean.
it's like a famine mindset. Like there's not enough.
But
rather than a plenty mindset. Like there's plenty for everybody, and you know, like New World when it released, I was like, oh my god, they literally have all the features that we've been planning for years, and we didn't plan them with that in mind. And I was kind of I was upset for a minute, and then I was like, oh wait, this is actually good because it shows that there's a genre for what we're doing, right? And that's a proof of concept. And it's not like it's the same thing as like having a McDonald's open up across the street from a Wendy's, because like there's not limited real estate, it's virtual. But even if that was the case, it's not the right mindset. And so I don't think it pays to be Machiavellian, and I think people just despise you for it, and then you get
I
betrayed, and
think,
then you end up having to do way more work. Whereas if
mate,
you were
I
just
think the
kind
problem
and
is
generous,
that your
you wouldn't have to
version
deal
of
with it.
I think your
Go
version
ahead.
of Machiavellian is like as person who's very one note, just devious. When you could like just be like a guy who does his best to do all the things that you're describing, but also hasn't got inhibitions of like if it's 100% necessary doing what he has to do. But anyway,
You
there's a
don't want to
question.
be naive, because
Yeah,
not
exactly.
being naive is just as bad, because you get taken advantage of. What
Like
did Christ
if
say?
oh, so
Christ
Norwig on
said,
there's a
let me get the
question.
quote in there. So Christ said to his disciples, "You must be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves." So it's not about being naive.
Mm,
That it's not like somebody stabs you in the back and then you just let them do that again. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, you wouldn't. I mean, like for example, Rob Stark. You said like, oh, like the idea is like being pious and all that kind of stuff wouldn't have benefited you. But like, I feel like even like the prince would have acknowledged that being so honorable had played into Rob Stark's image so much that it actually benefited him a lot during the show. Like people looked up to him, and like he even received offers of help because he was like known as the honorable like Ned Stark, not Rob Stark, Ned
But the
Stark.
message, but the message from George R. R. Martin, that's all true. But the message from George R. R. Martin was it doesn't pay off in the end because somebody just took advantage of him. He trusted
Yeah, because he's naive.
Littlefinger, and then he stabbed him in the back because he was too naive. And
The dude like had the ball in his court completely, and he fumbled, so he died. Like it was very
yeah,
silly. But somebody
even if
asked
it's got
in the
some truth
chat.
to it, it's a cynical worldview, which is why I don't like Game of Thrones, and that's why Tolkien would hate Game of Thrones, because it's all about corruption and sex and power, and there's no virtue, and good people get
Well, like
exploited.
I would argue
Yeah.
that Lord of the Rings is also extremely one noted of having like everybody be like a really good guy or a really evil guy, and there is literally no in between. Like
Well, that's not
there's
true,
like
because
literally
that's
the
not.
only guy that's like an in between is a guy literally called the Grey. Like it's all like,
No, no, that's not
like
true.
all
First of all,
right,
Gandalf is more the very good type, but there's people that go from good to bad, like Saruman. There's Boromir, who was in between, and he got tempted and did something very bad, but redeemed himself. Um,
mm,
but what you're saying has some elements of truth, because Tolkien tried to represent ideals, and so it's more black and white in some ways, but it's a more compelling narrative because that's actually the kind of stories that people want to hear, which is why Game of Thrones didn't end well. People think Game of Thrones didn't end well because the writers did something bad, but they had no material to work with from George, who said he was going to
yeah,
get the book before he did. And that, because remember how
yeah.
good the seasons were when they had the material. But secondly,
And then they even added in some scenes that were like really good that weren't in the books. Like with the iconic scene with Tywin skinning the like deer that he's caught and talking to his son when he's first that's like when he's first introduced into the thing. That was not in the books.
yeah, yeah, stuff like that. But the core message and the core issue is the way that George R. R. Martin paints the world is very cynical and exploitative. And that's the problem, is that there's no hero. Jon Snow is not the hero, right? They set up all this stuff for him to be the prince that's promised, and it just doesn't mean anything because they're so obsessed with subverting. Like Tolkien doesn't surprise you, like the good guys win in the end, but it's amazing because if you read the books, like the odds that they had to overcome is inspiring and incredible. And it's about how the smallest people in the world can do more than the most powerful, right? Like people who you think nothing of can be incredible movers and save the world. Whereas there is no message in Martin. The Martin message is like there is no message, and that's like a postmodern. Like that's not fun, and it was always going to end bad because there was never a fulfillment. There was you like it's exciting when the red wedding happens for the first time, but you can only do that so many times. At some point, you have to have an actual payoff and a story. You can't just subvert the audience forever, and that's why
It's
the
not
ending.
really a story. I feel like Lord of the Rings is done differently. The Lord of the Rings is like a journey, and it's like A. It's not well. I say A to B. Like it's very simplifying it, but it's like there's an A and there's a B, and yeah. But the way that the Song of Ice and Fire is there has been a history that has been written in this world from literally start conquest to finish, and if it doesn't play out like it's got a point, if it plays out to you like there's no point to it, that's because there isn't really a point to it. It's the history of the world. It's like not gonna ever seem like there's a point. But I really want to ask about
I
this.
think it's just a matter of your worldview. So if you have if your worldview is there's no right and wrong, and it pays off to be power hungry, then you're a fucking narcissist, and I wouldn't want to be friends with you. Some people think they believe that, but they don't act that way. And if people acted out what they believe, it'd be a whole different story. But if you actually act like you believe there's not a right and wrong and it doesn't matter, you're like a terrible narcissist that nobody wants to hang around. Most people act as if, even if they say they don't believe in good and evil, they still act that way. And they still adhere to moral principles. And whether that's out of social compulsion or fear or actual virtuous striving, they still conform to those values. And that's because in some part of them believes that it's important. But when you paint the world in a lens that it doesn't matter, I think that's how you basically create hell on earth that way. Because when nobody believes in those virtues, everybody just exploits each other, and the world looks a lot worse than it could be, even if it already has.
Yeah, no, 100%. Somebody asked an interesting question though. It says you can get debuffs by committing sins on the Lionheart website.
So just pause. So like a 20-minute philosophy discussion, and then just right back to Reforge. Got it?
Well,
Okay.
like somebody said an interesting question literally 15 minutes ago. I've been trying to stop you because it was an interesting question.
Please tell me the question. Say it again.
On the Lionhearts website, it says that you can get debuffs by committing sins. Are sins just like attacking other players indiscriminately, or are there more subtle actions? And then Nitro described like wearing two different types of clothing and all that kind of stuff, like plate
You're talking
and
about
cloth.
Leviticus. The Levitican law, which, by the way,
Wool and linen.
Christians do not have to. Christians, those laws were given to the Jewish people, and so Christians have never been required to follow those. The Gentiles, they had something called the Council of Jerusalem. Peter and the apostles were there at 50 AD after the death of Christ. AD doesn't mean after death, but it was 50 AD, which was after the resurrection. So they met on it, and they decided that Gentiles do not need to follow the old laws. So it's a funny question, Nitro, but
I have something called balls in my scrotum. That means that I don't have to listen to what a book tells me to do.
Wow. What was the second question?
That was the question.
Yeah, so as far as the sins, it's going to be nuanced. It's going to probably depend. It depends how deep you are in the religious tree too. Because if you're not in the religious tree, you're probably not even going to be aware of your sins, so they won't debuff you.
Fair enough. So I'm gonna get cooked. Is what I'm hearing. I'm gonna be the worst priest ever. It's gonna be great.
It's interesting though that you think it takes balls to do what you want to do rather than following the Bible. I think it's the opposite. That's so funny. I
I
guess
have
if
a
if
belief
you're
that
doing it,
humanity as a whole believes in religion because they have fear of the unknown and they cannot
yeah.
comprehend a reality which like is potentially a bit more meaningless than what they think it is.
Well,
Because
that goes back to our other discussion. I think that's just a negative way to look at it. I mean, that's not my belief's not out of fear, and it didn't come out. I was much more fearful as an atheist than I am as a Christian. In fact, the whole Christian message is about hope. It's not about fear.
yeah, it's
So
about hope of not having to be fearful that there is no point.
well, think how you see how like how hard it was to say that. This is you got to go Occam's razor here. The simpler
Yeah,
explanation.
okay. But like I don't fear anything. Like what is there to fear? Oh, tell me what you fear you're kind of
Well,
avoiding or like
remember the quote. The quote is the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. The beginning.
mm,
So
yeah.
the end goal in Christianity and Judaism, I would say, although I can't speak on Judaism that much, the end goal of Christianity is to love God, not be in fear of Him, and to trust Him out of love, and it's not fear based. Um,
Yeah.
so people like, and people really misunderstand the teachings of Christianity. Even a lot of Christians do, I think, and it's not. I haven't been to a single. I've been to many church services and many denominations, and I've never been to one that was fear based. I
Yeah, no, I
just
don't think it's fear based. I think that we grasp for knowledge in very weird ways, though. I think we've historically always tried to make sense of things through lenses that, like, we don't really understand. Like,
well, of
I,
course we don't
the,
understand them.
I
That's
think
not
to note is that we've always tried to think up like a creation story of how the world works and how and what we should be like and all this kind of stuff. We've always tried to grasp with it, and you get all these Abrahamic faiths that have seemed to really master creating these sorts of creation myths and all that kind of stuff, and we
well.
take it as
All the
gospel.
Abrahamic religions believe in Genesis, as far as I know, and that's the same
Yeah,
creation story. The reason I think what you're saying, I think people do try to understand the world and why we're here. I think you can use basic logic to understand that there's a cause and effect. It's Aristotle who every cause has an effect,
mm,
and if that's true, um, then there must be an infinite or near infinite chain of causes and effects back to the beginning. And if the universe came into existence, then there must have been an uncaused mover, an unmoved mover, which
yeah.
is what you God logically. So you would have to claim that that's not true. You would have to say you have to debunk one of the premises, which is what every cause doesn't have an effect. That'd be one premise, or that there basically is no time. There is no beginning to time, and things like the Big Bang would disagree with that. So
The Big Bang doesn't disagree with that necessarily. There are theories that the Big Bang and the world has always been going on. There are lots of theories of this kind of stuff where,
There are,
like,
and I just don't find them
you could say
compelling.
any number of things, both scientific and religious. And
We live in
honestly, there's
time. We live in time. We observe time.
mm,
Time moves in one direction. It had to
mhm,
have had a start, in my opinion. And so something that lives outside of time, which would be eternal, would have had to start it. And to start time in the universe, you would have to be an enormously powerful eternal being, which you would define
mm,
as God.
yeah,
Even something like multiverse doesn't get around that because what started the multiverse? I don't believe in multiverse personally, but um, so there are logical ways, and you could also look at. Have you ever looked into um, fine tuning? Like how many different things came together for life on Earth to be possible? Like infinitesimally small probabilities that came together as far as like how far away the Earth is from the sun, the existence of the polar
yeah,
field, the alignment of the planets, the fact that we have a moon that pulls our ocean, all these things that perfectly not just allow for basic life, but complex life to exist sustainably.
yeah,
Not to mention, there's no compelling arguments really for the creation of life. We know that there are habitats that sustain it, but we don't really, even things like evolution don't explain the actual origin of species, even though that's what it says. It explains how species evolve. So
yeah.
those sorts of questions and those sorts of alignments, as my phone is now at such low percent I can't even see the screen. Okay, hold on.
Um,
There we go.
Nitro's asking, is there going to be corruption in Reforged, like embezzlement funds,
That's
all that kind of.
players will be able to be corrupt, yeah. But there'll be consequences to that, just like there are now. Like if you take all your money from the faction treasury, your stability
You
goes
get
down and people
banned.
they fucking hate you.
You get banned. Is what happens
AK,
when if you get
AKA
banned.
Antioch. Yeah, I don't like banning people for game features like that. I mean, it's Gary's decision, but I wouldn't do that.
I mean, the
'Cause
fact
I
that we even
actually,
have
I,
1 million in our bank makes us a huge target. So I think we should be allowed to take it out. Like, it's
I
kind of a
agree.
joke.
I think you should be able to take it out because I designed it that way. But
Yeah.
that's up to them because they're doing that.
I mean, if they're going to target us and then also be the head mod and then also say that we can't take our money out of our bank, then I think that's a bit unfair.
Any other
The head mod.
questions? I'm about to go hop back on my PC and do a giveaway.
I mean, I basically have this whole thing where I think that a bunch of the stuff that people say they know, they don't truly know. It's not on 100%. And
That's
there's a lot of
opinion.
ways that I could. Yeah, yeah, but like, it's also your opinion. If you get what I mean. It's
Well,
not.
Socrates said that first thing I know is I know nothing, and I think that's the first step. Is if you're truly humble enough, that's what brought me to Christianity. Was actually being, and that's what made me an atheist at first, was questioning. But actually continuing to question and being open minded is what brought me first to discover that there's a creator, or actually first to discover the Bible's not what people said it was. I didn't believe in a creator when I read it. Second, to believe in a creator, and then third, to come to Christianity fully. That was all from questioning.
Yeah, well, people question a lot of things, but I feel like I uh I don't need to ask. I don't need to ask that many questions to get through my day to day and be a good person. It's not that hard. I don't need a book to tell me how to live. Emmett died. I feel like his phone died. Do you guys still hear what I'm talking about? Or is it like fully ruined? Yeah, it's cooked. Oh no. Oh no, I can still hear it. You still got 13 people watching. How did you guys manage to get to Constantinople? Those garrisons are literally like like 6K for 6 feet 6K feet away from each other. Chop. Like I swear, all loads of drop. I swear all they have to do is put like 4 crossbowmen with folded arrows, and you guys are gonna have to retreat like at least once. Jeez, this man's winning 200 more. Gamble 4K. Yeah, sure. You should. You just gonna. Just never got interviewed. Uh, I mean, the interviews, like, a lot of them weren't that interesting, to be honest. I think. I think a lot of people come in too nervous to have a talk with old myth or like to get on the screen and stuff. Yeah, no, I think also some of the questions that they get asked isn't great either. Like, there's a lot of nitty gritty that people can get into with these faction leaders, but like Myth doesn't ask that part. Never that interested. I mean, it's not supposed to do an interview if you want to. Huh? Yeah, I'm there. Hello. Uh, yeah, no. Chop wants to do an interview with you one day. He says.
All right.
We're doing good. I'm saying.
So much.
It's because I'm like in my pillow, as I said I would be. You know, Chop wants to do an interview with you. You got to start redoing those leader interviews because there's some new ones. He also he's wondering about what you think about the fall of Constantinople after 3 years.
Like, like that in real life. They're walking around. Oh, I'm sorry. He's talking. Talking about actual content. Oh, I thought he actual. I don't. I was like, that's a lot longer. That was a lot longer than that. Never lose. Shoots are about to control. It takes. Am I? Oh. Hello? Oh, I think I just need to turn the gain on the mic up. Yeah, that's better. Start a giveaway. That was a good talk, though. Enjoyed that. And I feel way better. I felt like, fuck. Sometimes you just need to get out of the house. It's kind of funny that the Constantinople fell. That's my reaction. This guy is fucking insane. Nice. Delcus is back. Wow, did anybody even respond to our philosophy? This guy is insane. Oh, yeah. Did you expect like going to a church one time would be, were you like open-minded that it completely would change your perspective? Well, that's not really a good, that was never really a compelling argument to me. Never moved the needle. Such as? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of different angles, but well, I think that you could make very easy logical proofs like the one I just did to prove that there's one God. So that would throw out that would throw out polytheism. I just think there are more than one. They're not true gods because they'd be subsidiary to the one God that created. And I guess following Occam's razor, yeah, I think that's an interesting point. I think it's, yeah, I mean, who created, if there's multiple, that sort of implies you're just pushing I think that just pushes the timetable back. Like you need something where the buck stops, which would be something that's eternal, immensely, and I guess by definition, if it's omnipotent, there can only be one, because you cannot have two infinitely powerful beings, like logically, because there's only so much power. It's infinite, right? So you can't have two. Well, that's what we're talking about philosophy. That's what the subject is. Well, if something if something is omnipotent, it means they're all powerful. All means everything. So you can't have two that's all. Otherwise it'd be half powerful and half powerful. Or 3/4 and 1/4. But it wouldn't be all. Yeah, that's a better point to follow. That's a better follow-up. There certainly are a lot of possibilities. I just think the probability, again, is that there's one unmoved first mover, logically. And logically, to create the universe, you have to be an enormously powerful being. So I think it's much more logically conducive and rational to believe in one. Well, that's actually an interesting point. A lot of people choose not to Well, that goes back to our earlier point where you said it'd be easier to be religious, but if you know anything about the Christianity is about denying yourself from the world. It's about self-denial, where uh-huh. Uh-huh. Sure. I hope you're following the Ten Commandments. The fucking those are pretty basic to like you murder. Are you like having sex with your neighbor's wife and murdering people? The Ten Commandments is not like I'm not saying it's easy to always follow the Ten Commandments, but like that's not like a it's not like a high barrier. What? Oh, that's so funny. I don't know why it would change, because... Oh, I closed the thing. I closed the full screen menu, and it was synced to the full screen. Dang. They couldn't hear your good counterpoint. I think I'm literally just like a... True. True.
You're obviously just so funny.
I think they can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah. No, there's a good clip, and that's been submitted to the clip thing of this guy named Spaghetti. He's been a leader in in like 4 factions. Just screaming because he like is just raging at this guy and Carrie. With hopecore music on it. Good, they're definitely that's a winning clip. If I left every faction and like cut all ties with Pendragons, could I become a moderator?
Yeah?
Because I think I need to fix this system of...
You're not happy with the
like,
mods?
I'm not happy with the fact that there's moderators like that are allowed to play the game and be HRs and factions. I think the community is quite small, so I can understand why.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Personally, I
Infinity's doing a good job though, but you know.
You want play as a mod here?
Chat, what do you think? Play for England mod? Play for England mod? I think that'd be great.
Damn.
The country of Malta. We're gonna be sat in a clan in Malta hunting all of the pilgrims. Not a single one's gonna escape. And within a week we're gonna have a 50-man clan. It's gonna be amazing.
I think I'm actually getting better.
I mean, honestly, next time next time I get bored of like being in factions or something, I'm gonna like apply for mod and just be the least biased moderator immediately. Then Dylan's gonna spam my DMs like, please unban me, because he's gonna get banned again for doing something really stupid. Oh no, you earned it this time. You really did it this time. Messi's not banned. What are you talking about?
He was banned from the server.
What?
You didn't know that?
What?
He's literally banned. He's literally permed from the server right now.
That's a blatant lie. I saw him 2 days ago. Oh, one of my pen
He's not
dragons
banned
got
in game.
for 2
He's
days.
banned in the server, Nitro.
Oh. I love going through all of the bans and seeing what like horrendous acts have been going on.
Congrats to Coco.
What did he do? What did he do to deserve getting banned from the server then? I mean, he definitely didn't get banned because I'm looking at all these judiciary punishments, and there's literally nothing.
He duped Cass's greatsword, according to.
Oh, well, that's fair.
Wait, so he got banned in game then? Infinity hooked him up with a greatsword and then banned.
Assassination ban.
Double hit. I don't know what his second
See, this is why I
phase is
just
gonna
don't
be.
touch cast. Wait, what? You don't know what the second phase of the boss are?
Yeah, I don't know what it's gonna be.
Yeah, this is
but
why
I'm getting
this
the
is
first...
why I don't mess with. I don't mess with fucking cast and masker shit. It takes too long to make fairly, and then once you make it, everybody like thinks you're fucking glitching the game and shit. You get accused of duping. It's also not even
Infinity,
worth it
is he
because I'm
banned
better
in
than
game or
everyone
not?
already without it. Casting goods for recruits. That's wild.
He only got a Discord ban for duping Cass.
Well, the problem is that they don't have like that much proof, so they just settled for a Discord ban. Is that right, Infinity? I'm not sure. What was he about? Ah, why are you lying to me?
Now your story is all over the place. I feel like he just said he was banned for duping. Now he's saying he wasn't banned.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, it was for what originally Sleepy banned for. So it's a reban.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No. I mean, I just think if at all possible in the new game, moderators should be allowed to obviously play the game, but they shouldn't be any higher than MR. Just to make sure that, like, it's not like there's any problems with it in the game, it just, when somebody's making a decision on something, and that somebody is, like, in in a position in like either an enemy faction or something, it could feel bad.
Message Roblex to get your reward, Coco.
Yeah. And then what else is there? And that's not even with wars. Not even with just wars. There's other things as well that it can kind of suck for.
Guy's hard. Bruv. Skill. I need more skill.
You need more attempts. Keep trying.
It's true, actually. I'm definitely getting a little bit better. That's a ridiculous attack. Oh, nice.
They need to buff this boss. It's too easy.
Dude, they literally nerfed
I
it.
would do it.
It used to be like even harder.
Yeah, and I witnessed. I saw the nerf. Yeah, they need to put it back to. This game is not for the light-hearted. I used to sleep. I woke up after a night out drinking with my Northern Irish friend.
Oh no.
I know. I had an interview and we went out celebrating, and the night started at 1 p.m. and I got home at like 8, and then like collapsed, like threw up. It was terrible. And I woke up today, had work for 6 hours. And I got back home and immediately started working on homework, and then you called. You're overworking me.
Can't overwork you. This is just a friendship.
No. It's like it's contracted required. When's the last time Dylan's been on the stream? I haven't seen him in a while.
True.
I think he's sad because he's been banned ever being a hater.
He's been what?
Which is he's not allowed to be HR in any factions. Which is funny because I got HR in Antioch and he has, so I'm now his boss. I'm in charge of it.
What? He doubled that attack?
They over-designed this boss.
I think this is going to be a Moog situation. Just going to have to grind it for a long time.
True.
I don't really think I need, like, I don't know where I would put more levels, like, I guess into endurance or something. Actually doing.
It would.
Ow.
Right, Biff, I'm sleeping. I hope you enjoy.
Well, we're about to end the stream. Are you
Yeah.
really going to leave in the last minute?
Wait, but how long until the stream?
It's
ends?
either
Am I
this
actually
is
gonna
my
get the
last
full
attempt or
way?
the next one.
Okay. I actually can't believe I'm gonna get the full way through the stream. That's crazy. That deserves like a badge, like a stamp.
2 hours? That's like nothing.
I don't know how streamers do it actually, like Twitch streamers. Going on for like 10 hours.
It's like my super streams, man.
Yeah, the grind is that's too much. Like, I wouldn't be able to play a game for even half that time.
Alright, I'm going to do one more attempt.
Probably the longest sessions I've had was when I first got Cyberpunk. And that shit had me so immersed that I was like I was just thinking about Cyberpunk like on the way to uni. That was just all I was doing.
Any last questions in the chat for my loyal stream followers that have been loyal? Unlike Clay, who tried to leave.
Bruv. These guys are all sat here trying to get freebies probably, I bet. They're little I'm the real one here. Especially Infinity, he's just here for free wins. he's just here for the free wins. Yeah. A question from Dragonwing, he says, I like potatoes.
Same. Potatoes are decent.
Of course you do. The usual suspect.
I'm Irish. You...
What? No. No, I'm just stereotyping. It's different. No.
All right, thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for joining. Play.
No problem.
See you guys.